Priyankaji's point is, Mr. Malviya, that if the government has already begun with the very emphatic assertion that this is not done by the government, then how can we trust your probe? Will the probe not come to the conclusion which the government has already started with on day one? That it's basically a self-fulfilling prophecy. You will do all this probe and say the government did nothing. Respond to that, Mr. Malviya.
You know, this isn't a leap of faith, as you put it, but it's a leap of desperation for the Congress, where they want to lap up anything and everything that they believe could help their purpose or their agenda. If for a minute it was the government of India behind it, as the opposition is alleging, why has the government of India said that we will investigate it? There has been a very strong statement put out by the Minister of Information and Technology saying that we will investigate this matter and we will get Apple to cooperate and ensure that they give us a more convincing answer and not a vague one. That is the government of India's position. Now, if the opposition believes that this government is compromised and that it already has made up its mind, or as Priyanka said, that there is a certain agency in the government that has gone rogue, if that is the kind of mistrust that you have on government of India and its agencies, then please tell me, why are you even interested in being part of this government or getting into the treasury benches? Aren't you happier sitting in the opposition because you don't trust the government or any of its arms? Now,
don't trust you in government. They'd be very happy being in government, but that's a different matter. That's a debate for another day. But Mr. Malviya, as far as circumstantial evidence is concerned, just give me a second. Let's look at who are the dramatis persona who claim to have received this email. Priyanka, Mahua Mitro, Raghav Chadda, Shashi Tharoor, Asuddin Owaisi, Sitaram Yechury, Pawan Khera, Akhilesh Yadav, Siddharth Varadarajan, Sriram Kesri, Kari, Samir Saran, K.C. Venugopal, Supriya Sule, Revant Reddy, K.T. Ramarao. Now, apart from Samir Saran, I don't see anybody else in that list who's pro-government or even neutral, right? These are largely anti-government people. So, doesn't it seem like a bit of a coincidence, more than a bit of a coincidence, that only anti-government people will receive this email from Apple, Mr. Malviya?
You know, I started off on your program saying that Piyush Goyal has himself got a notification on his mail ID. Now, if you think that's not good enough, or if you think he is likely to defect to the Congress or to the opposition, I'm not quite sure if there's anything more I can say to convince you. Sriram Kari is the journalist. I think he's the editor of Deccan in Hyderabad. So, that's right. So, I'm clearly, you're not branding him as a politician, and so is the chief of ORF, Samir Saran. Now, these are not people who are politicians or who are in the opposition ranks, and I'm sure that there are several other people who've got this notification, except that they do not have the same currency with media as some of these opposition leaders do. I mean, we are a country of 140 crore people, a lot of them use Apple phones, and I'm sure many have got this notification, but not all of them perhaps make it to the media or invoke media interest, and that is why this debate has become about the opposition versus the government, which is unfortunate, because this should be about Apple and its users.
So there are several people, Priyanka, on that list. The president of the Observer Research Foundation, Samir Saran, who I know well, who's hardly anti-government from any stretch of imagination. The Deccan Chronicle editor is on this list as well. He's a journalist. You've got people there who aren't anti-government, who've also received, and while Piyush in the interview we didn't say anything about receiving an email, we've seen Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the MOS IT, say that Piyush Goyal's office did receive this email. So therefore there are all kinds of characters who received this email, not just anti-government people.
No, if you are juxtaposing three people vis-a-vis over 15 odd people from the opposition, then it's fair enough for your thought process to continue that way and keep joining the dots, which don't exist. However, there's a very clear pattern, whether it is with Pegasus, where we still don't know what the investigation report finally showed, and where we stand as far as Pegasus is concerned. And like I said, various other geographies investigated it and took action. However, India failed to do that, and India failed to blame, international agencies, etc., and called it motivated. Now, let me tell you, he keeps saying that that statement is vague coming from Apple, and we'll ask them to keep it more clearer. It clearly says in their statement, we are unable to provide information about what causes us to issue threat notifications, as that may help state-sponsored attackers adapt their behavior to evade detection in the future. So it is a very clear-cut, statement from Apple that yes, we've sent this alert. We believe these are really powerful people who are trying to hack into Apple IDs to get sensitive information. Considering it's happening to members of the opposition, I think it should be time for people to actually ask tough questions of the government and what are they doing. However, for him to say, oh, you don't have faith in the government, I'm sorry, if Mr. Piyush Goyal has faith in his government, he should hand over his phone and let us know what comes out of the investigation.
Adil Singh Boparai, the point that Amit Malviya made is Rahul Gandhi has been down this road levelling this charge in the Pegasus case, and when the committee asked him to submit his phone for investigation so it could be examined forensically, he refused. So Amit Malviya making the point that this is just going to be the same thing when they're asked for the phone. If the opposition people don't give the phone, then how is the government or any investigative agency ever supposed to prove this or probe this? Adil Singh Boparai.
Mr. Kanwal, this is worse than India. This is worse than the Watergate scandal of the US. Make no mistake about this.
How? How so?
How so? This is political espionage. What more proof do you want? You have opposition leaders being attacked with military-grade spyware. What more evidence do you want? And so much of a coincidence that you have 15 leaders or 15 opposition leaders who speak vociferously against the government, or more particularly against the political executive of the day. The Congress party, Mr. Kanwal, firmly believes that democracy is dead in this country. You have these ornamental shells which put up a pretense of a democracy, but the vitals have been eaten up. They've been hollowed out. The watchdogs and the accountability seekers have just surrendered. We are very firm on this view, notwithstanding what others may think. The problem today is that this is a repeat of what happened with the Pegasus scandal. I want to remind the BJP IT chief that it was the Supreme Court of India which had said that the government of the day did not cooperate with the committee when it came to the Pegasus scandal. So what more stonewalling, what more evidence of stonewalling do you want from this government? And coming to your question, how do you expect somebody to be a judge in his own cause? And I find this completely ludicrous.
No, but why did Rahul Gandhi not give the phone for examination? If he levelled this charge, if indeed something had been attempted to be planted by the Pegasus crew, it could have been examined. Rahul Gandhi ultimately never gave the phone.
Well, Mr. Kanwal, the government's investigation reports are not worth the paper on which they're written.
No, so who will probe this then? Okay, so what are you asking for?
The difficulty today is that you have a government which has fascist tendency. And when this government goes out of power, there will be an independent probe. And those responsible for such acts of omission and commission will be brought to justice. This will happen.
If Apple were to come out with a statement, then you'll say companies like Facebook, like Meta, Apple, they are beholden to the government because India is a big market, India is very important for them. That's the other charge you level. You're saying that the investigative agency won't do its job properly. So what specifically are you then asking for?
Please understand this. Apple is not under the opposition control here. Apple is an independent MNC. It is Apple which has said that there is state-sponsored attacks. And do you expect the North Koreans or the Japanese to attack opposition leaders? Please, let's not give that spiel. That's ludicrous. Who would be interested in hacking into the phones of opposition leaders in this country? Obviously, the dispensation of the day.
On the China-Pakistan theory, just before I go across to our tech experts, let me get one word in from Amit Malviya. On the China-Pakistan state-sponsored espionage theory, wouldn't they want to know what is happening in the government, Mr. Malviya? Rather than trying to snoop on opposition, isn't it more effective for them if they are going to make this effort to snoop on members of the government rather than snooping on the opposition? What will Beijing find out? Even if they get into Priyanka's phone, how does it help Xi Jinping's case? It's much better to get into somebody in government, into their phone.
Rahul, I quickly want to make 3 points. Loud words coming in from the Congress spokesperson. I want to remind your viewers that P. Chidambaram bugged late Pranab Mukherjee's office when they were in office. So let them not pontificate to us on snooping and other issues, because their own track record is fairly checkered and a dark one. Having said that, let me extend the conspiracy theory of the state or the executive trying to snoop on opposition. Where does it imply that only the federal government can snoop? It is quite likely maybe the Congress-run Rajasthan government is snooping on Akhilesh Yadav after they had a spat in Madhya Pradesh regarding seat sharing. And for all you know, Chhattisgarh government might be, Bhupesh Baghel might be snooping on Rahul Gandhi after he disowned him at a public rally saying T.S. Singh Deo is the Chief Minister of Chhattisgarh. So if you want to get into speculative regime, you want to get into imaginary arguments, then you can extend it to any point.
Okay.
It really doesn't matter. But coming to your point on the China-Pakistan axis and their inclination to snoop on India's ruling establishment, I want to, sort of make it a larger argument here. Look, India is weaning away a business from a lot of companies. A lot of companies from China, for instance, are moving into India, Foxconn being one, and they're manufacturing the Apple product. So if you want to really speculate and, look at things beyond what is obvious, why can't you think that it could be a country trying to undermine India's integrity as it loses business to the country?
Okay.
There are geopolitical forces at play, and maybe India's opposition is a willing, useful prop in the hands of such people, and that is why they've got these notifications and they're making so much noise and sound about it.
Now,
so, if you want to get into the ludicrous argument, you can extend it to any point. But if you want to be substantive, then the government of India has very clearly said that we are going to take this to the next level of investigation, get Apple to cooperate. And it's not just opposition leaders who got that message. Several people in the government have also got it. And if you did not cooperate when Pegasus was being investigated, and then made allegations like tech fog and Meta being controlled and Insta being controlled, and now this. Clearly, India's opposition has no credibility to make any more statements like that.